Yo, what up, bros? So today I've come to talk to you about the sorceress sword class in Diablo 4. Now, I started my sword class, I played around with it, I tried a bunch of different builds, from fire to cold to lightning. I tried things that you guys suggested in Twitch chat, and sword is just leagues more powerful than anything else in the game. You could probably play anything you want as a Sorc, and it's just absurdly leagues ahead of anything else. And I wanted to show you a build on Sorc that I got from another streamer. I was watching a pretty big streamer, Ben. Some of you guys might know from PoE, some of you guys might know from WoW. And I was watching what he was doing on Sorc, and it was probably the best thing I've ever seen ever. And I wanted to try it, I needed to try it, I had to know it, and I watched his VOD, I saw his skill tree, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I tested it, and I was blown away. I was like, the level of depth in Sorc was really cool, and the gear and getting it to work and trying to figure it out, because I just took the skill tree, tried to slam it in, don't even have the correct skill tree, as he changes things all the time. And I was just like, oh my god, this is insane. The idea that I needed to farm certain aspects and get different legendaries and put things together to make my gear work. So I have chain lightning bounces and gives me mana. I have an extra Hydra. My barrier does things, all kinds of crazy stuff. And I was rightfully so just blown away at how good it was. It was so good and so strong and so powerful that I ended up going to try the world boss, because I heard fantastic things about the world boss fight. And I couldn't believe what I heard was true. So I went to the world boss fight and I started recording, and I'm gonna click over to this, and my OBS crashed a couple minutes in the recording. I lost the footage, so I'm gonna talk through what's going on while I play this. Now, this is the world boss. If I press F11, it's full screen. There we go. So there we go. So I'm gonna post the full footage of this at the end of this, so if you want to go back and watch it, you could see. But the Sorc specializes in having, as you can see, infinite cooldowns, infinite barriers, infinite mana, cast all of its spells all the time ever, and never take damage. And you'll notice while watching this that, I'm just standing in things right now. I'm absorbing damage. He's going to slam the ground. He misses, but I'm standing in poison, not paying attention to anything in the world, and just casting and attacking and casting and attacking. And I wanted to show you guys this, because as long as nothing changes between now and next weekend, building this Sorc and putting this together is just amazingly strong from level 1 the whole way on. So for people looking for something to do for the next open beta, or people trying to explore different options, it's something to think about, because it made D4 I don't want to say dummy easy, but putting it together, understanding the stats, looking for upgrades to min-max it became pretty in-depth pretty quick. And I know there's probably going to be players that have copied this and have done this and said, no, it's really simple, I'm an idiot. That's fine. But to me, this was just out of this world amazing. The concept behind the build works like this. We cast Chain Lightning, and depending on if we're doing bosses or damage, we use Chain Lightning either as a clear versus Hydra, or Hydra as a clear versus Chain Lightning. Chain Lightning bounces off a bunch of targets and gives us back mana because it bounces off of us. We use Hydra as damage, and we eventually get an aspect that gives us 2 Hydra, so we double our damage. We use Ice Blades to summon an Ice Blades to give the mob vulnerability to take more damage. We use the Ice Blade enhancement to give us CDR, which is cooldown reduction, which affects all of our spells. We use a barrier spell, which is Ice Barrier. That gives us a shield. We use Teleport, which has a cooldown and gives us a shield, and is a mobility skill and an offensive skill. And we just spam a bunch of spells and a bunch of cooldowns, and we have infinite barriers, infinite life, infinite mana, and we use Frostbolt for more mana. That's the gist of it. I know a lot of you guys are like, oh my god, that's so confusing. Please break it down even further. And we'll do that, and we'll go over things, and we'll look at things, and we'll talk about things. And I just wanted to let this play for a minute and just show you that, I didn't have a care in the world. I didn't pot once. I took some damage eventually because I forgot to press my cooldowns because I was just brain dead. And you just go. You just go. And you just don't think. You just do things. So, like I said, the rest of this footage will be at the end, and you guys can go check that out. I'll put a link to it, or not a link, but I'll include it at the end of this. So overall, this is what we're trying to do. The Shift A. It is. There we go. So for our skills, we start very simple. We take a point in the Frostbolt. Frostbolt's going to be a mana generator for us. Enhance Frostbolt because we have to. Frostbolt has a chance to explode on chilled enemies, hitting surrounding enemies. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it don't. It's pretty good. But what we're looking for is we're looking for Frostbolt generates 4 mana when hitting chilled or frozen enemies. We're going to spam Frostbolt in between all of our skills. So we go 1 point Frostbolt, 1 point Enhanced Frostbolt, 1 point Glinting Frostbolt, and that unlocks the next tree for us. If you're doing dungeons and you need clear, you can max out Chain Lightning. We put a point into Chain Lightning, a point into Enhanced Chain Lightning, so that every time it gets a 3% increased critical strike chance per bounce. So Chain Lightning bounces a whole bunch of times. Every time it bounces, we get more Chain Lightning. And we're going to pair that with Greater Chain Lightning, which if Chain Lightning bounces off of you, the next deal hits 25% increased damage. So for a single target, it ends up being pretty good with Hydra. We also want Chain Lightning to bounce off of us to generate mana with an aspect, which we'll talk about in a minute. Going down the skill tree, we take 1 point into Teleport. Teleport lets us have another cooldown skill, which will make sense in a little bit. Teleport also gives us a way to engage in combat and disengage in combat, as Teleport has Unstoppable. In Diablo 4, Unstoppable means characters have all control and pairing effects removed and prevented. So if you're stunned, if you're frozen, if you're chained, if you're feared, if you're locked in a corner, if you don't know what to do, just teleport. Just teleport. Just gone. Nothing can stop you. Everything works out great. We're going to be pairing that with Ice Armor, which is a barrier. A barrier in Diablo 4 absorbs damage from all sources up to a specific amount. This barrier around us for 6 seconds absorbs 33% of our base life, in this case 138 life. While Ice Armor is active, 10% of your damage dealt is added to its barrier. So we get a lot of barrier. Leveling up Ice Armor probably with more skill points will probably be really good. We're going to modify our Ice Armor with while Ice Armor is active, your mana regeneration is increased by 25%. And as we mentioned earlier, we have 0 cooldown, or we have close to 0 cooldown. So we always have Ice Armor. Ice Armor is always up. We always have insane mana regeneration. We take Shimmering Ice Armor, which enemies that hit you while Ice Armor is active have a 15% chance to become frozen. Frozen enemies, once again, pair really well with our Frostbolt, as Frostbolt gives us more mana against frozen enemies. So everything ties really well together. Moving down the line, we took Hydra. I maxed out Hydra because I had the aspect for 2 Hydras. You can max out Chain Lightning until you get that aspect. You can max out Hydra without that aspect. Hydra itself is just really good and a fantastic source of damage. Hydra we're going to put with when healthy. Since we're always healthy and we always have a barrier, Hydra gains an additional head, so your Hydra shooting from 4 heads and not 3. Hydra also burns the enemies for additional 12% of its base damage over 6 seconds. I think the other side of Hydra is okay. You could use it if you want, but this is what I went with. We're taking Ice Blades. Ice Blades is going to conjure a pair of Ice Blades for 6 seconds that rapidly slash at enemies for damage and have a 30% chance to make them vulnerable for 2 seconds. Ice Blades hits an enemy. It puts on Vulnerable. Vulnerable enemies take 20% increased damage. They take more damage from every source. It's pretty sweet. We're going to take all the enhancements with Ice Blade. We're going to say Ice Blade's cooldown is reduced by 1 second each time it hits a vulnerable enemy. So every time your Ice Blade hits an enemy that's vulnerable, its cooldown goes down. So the more Ice Blades, the more vulnerability, the more vulnerability, the more damage it takes, the more damage it takes from the Ice Blades, the less of the cooldown that you have, and the faster it's up. We pair that with Summon Ice Blades, which says 50% of enhanced Ice Blades cooldown skills reduction is applied to your other skills. So the more that we get cooldown or CDR from Ice Blades hitting mobs, the faster all of our skills up. So the more Ice Blades that we make, the faster it's up. Now, something that's really cool about Ice Blades is that when we put it on our enhancement for our Sorc, which is a thing you unlock at level 15, enhancement, by the way, assuming people don't know what this is all of our skills have enhancement effects, and you can choose to put a skill down in the enhancement slot. We're going to put Ice Blade. Ice Blade enhancement says for every 20 seconds in cooldown you spend, you spawn an Ice Blade on a random enemy. So the longer that you have cooldowns up and the longer that you're spamming your abilities, the more Ice Blades that you spawn, and the more Ice Blades that you spawn, the more they hit the enemy. The more they hit the enemy, the more vulnerable the enemy becomes, and the more you get CDR. So what that means, to show you by walking outside of town, is when I press a button, you can see right here, cooldown, it spawns Ice Blade. It gives me a countdown for how long. So you can see I have 2 Ice Blades. The third one just disappeared, right? So if I do that again, I have Ice Blade. There's another Ice Blade, because the cooldown for this is so high. So Ice Blade, 13, 12. So now we have 3 of them. And those mobs, as I do that rotation, they will go and hit mobs, and they will kill things, and they will spawn more dudes. Let's see if we can make that happen really quick. So Ice Blade, Ice Blade. That mob is vulnerable, and then you can see all of my skills are ticking down really fast. And they just kill everything, and then I just have infinite Ice Blades and infinite CDR. Let's see if we can just make this happen really quick. I think the mobs are dying too fast. We do too much damage. No. Anyways, you guys get the idea. Let's go back to town. Oh, it's so much fun to play. It's so much fun to play this character. It's ridiculous. So much fun. So, going back into our skill tree, something really interesting and really important that you'll notice is we take none of the skills here yet because we didn't have enough skill points. So everything we need is up until right here. Now, because all of our skills are always on cooldown and we're constantly always pressing all of our buttons and we're constantly always having things to do, we're going to take these passive nodes. So the first passive node says you gain 5% damage reduction against elites enemies for each second you haven't taken damage up to 50%. So we always have a barrier. We never take damage. So we're always gaining damage reduction because we put up a barrier, the barrier gets hit, we get hit, we take no damage, gain damage reduction. Damage reduction works on the barrier. So the more damage reduction, the less damage you take, the more the barrier is up. We're going to pair that with every time you spend 100 mana, you gain 5% damage reduction for 5 seconds. So we're always spending all of our skills. We're always spamming all of our mana. We always have another 5% damage reduction. So this is 50% damage reduction. This is another 5. That's 55%. If we had more skill points, we get more mana shield. Now, the real good one. Using a cooldown grants 30% of your maximum life as a barrier for 5 seconds. This stacks. This stacks fast, and this stacks a lot. So if I press my armor and my Ice Blade and my teleport hits something, I get 3 barriers. Which people are like, what? That shouldn't work like that. And I was like, yeah, you're right. That shouldn't work like that. But that's how that works. If I press Ice Blades, I get a barrier. If I press Ice Armor, I get a barrier. And then if I press Teleport, I have to hit something, it would give me a barrier. I don't know if this is going to survive till main game. This is really strong. This is like really, really strong. Like super strong. Like really, really strong. So if I just go like find enemy, I just go barrier, barrier, boom, and then barrier. What? Like, hello? It's crazy. And that's how I did the world boss. Just infinite barriers, infinite life, infinite CDR, infinite damage, infinite everything. Now, something to note. One of the things that makes this work is an aspect. You need an aspect. It can go on rings and amulet. I think amulet, the aspect says each time chain lightning bounces off if you gain 4 mana. So we use chain lightning as a way to generate all of our mana back. This aspect is actually pretty easy to get. It comes from a dungeon. You can go to the dungeon and you can get it. Is it this one? It should be this one. Doesn't show me anymore. Yeah, it should be this one. So this dungeon, Zenith, will give you that. So you just run the dungeon and then you get it. If you're not sure how to put it on, I'll show you really quick. When you unlock the aspect, you come on over here to the occultist. You take your ring. You go imprint aspect. We take our ring. We throw our ring here. We click Codex of Power. And we go here. Unlocked by completing Zenith and Fractured Peaks. So we just do this. We hit... Oops. And then you'll see you get a legendary ring with the aspect on it. Aspects don't stack. I tested that. They don't stack. So don't make the same mistake I did and try to do that. Now, something that's really cool that I didn't know, and talking about the depth of the characters and what you can and can't do, is if you have legendaries, you can rip the aspects off them and put them onto things, which I didn't know, and I'll show you that. And this is how I made my staff. I got a really high damage rare staff, and then I got a unique that gave me the Hydra ability. So we're just going to assume that has the Hydra ability on it. I have not found another one to be able to show you for recording. The beta's about to end, so farming another one would be a little difficult, and I didn't have any friends that readily had one except for Binsu, but I didn't want to take it off him because he's farming. So, but thank you for the offer, Binsu. You can actually go to this mob, and you can go to extract an aspect. So for some gold, which I'm almost out of gold, but it's fine. I click this, I extract the aspect off of this, it goes into my inventory. And then I can, when I put my item in here, I can put an aspect from my inventory and attach that to a weapon. I don't have a rare weapon to show, unfortunately. Do I have a rare weapon? Did I do this? Yeah! See, you can upgrade right from your inventory. That's so cool. So there is depth. We just haven't seen it. We haven't found it yet. We only have legendaries. We don't have uniques. We don't have sacred items. We don't have the rest of the dungeons. They're coming. But I do think there's a level of depth that we haven't explored yet in this. And I encourage you guys to go try Sorc and see if you like it. I was going to try Barbarian. I ran out of time. My plan for open beta is to test out the Druid, the Necromancer, and the Barbarian if there's time. But I like Sorc a lot. I highly encourage you to give it a shot. And if you do and you like it, let me know in the comments down below. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and do all that stuff. It greatly helps the channel as the YouTube algorithm loves you for it. And for now, I'm going to go off. I'm going to enjoy the rest of the Diablo beta before it ends. I'm going to go hang out. And yeah, man. See you in the Discord. See you in the Twitch stream. Or see you in the next video. Bye, friends.
need time to prepare that.